I will get hot and I never get stained when we saddle up and ride 'em in the pouring rain.
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
He's gone country. Look at them.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Outlaw Country Podcast. Today we're joined by Dallas Moore. So Dallas, thanks for joining us today.
Top of the morning, mi amigos.
So Dallas, the first time I've ever really heard of your music, I don't know if you know this about us, but we're based out of Omaha, Nebraska. And we love going to Buck's Bar and Grill, so that's how we really found your music. And I was just wondering, what do you think of that venue, and you enjoy playing there? It's kind of
Buck's is the only bar in Venice, Nebraska.
Yep.
No, man, we love playing Buck's. Actually, we're going to be returning there in September if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. You know, everything's so crazy with stuff keeps shutting down, and getting to play live shows is just real tricky right now. But as long as everything goes good, we'll be returning to Buck's. I forget the actual date, but it's coming up here in September. So we always love getting out there, and they got good eats and good music.
Oh, absolutely.
And Lone Star beer, so it works out pretty good.
How did you first hear about Bucks? Did he contact you, or how did that?
Yeah, we had started hearing about like Whitey Morgan and Ward Davis and Cody Jenks and a lot of different guys were playing out there, and then I can't remember if it was done through a booking agent or if Buck reached out to us, or I think we were put together with them by our mutual friend Jeb Brown, who runs the Backroom Listening Lounge in Riverton, Illinois, and he was friends with Buck. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's how we ended up out there the first time. We played out there 4 or 5 times now.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be there back in April, and then that got canceled when everything was shut down. So the September date will be our makeup date for this year. So very much looking forward to getting out there.
Yeah, we'll have to come check you out.
Yeah, come on, man. I always have a little mini family reunion when I get out there because my niece, she works at the Omaha Zoo. And that's the only time I get to see her, unless she comes back to Ohio for Christmas. But yeah, it's great out there.
You mentioned that this show's going to be in September. Have you started doing shows again recently, or is that something you're going to pick up here pretty soon?
No, we've been playing, sporadically since Memorial Day weekend. Okay. We were on tour back in Texas on March 19th when we played our last show, and we were supposed to be en route to Arizona, and everything got shut down, came to a screeching halt, and so then we were locked down and we couldn't play anywhere for just shy of 3 months. It was I think 1 week shy of 3 months, I believe it was. And then starting on Memorial Day weekend, different states started opening up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we've just kind of been going where we could. We've only got to play 3 full band shows and that entire time. Just about everything that we are getting to play is very stripped down acoustic duo shows with me and Lucky Chuck Morpurgo, who's been my guitar player. We've been together this year 25 years.
Oh, wow.
So it's been the two of us, because everywhere that is open is at a very, very limited capacity. Yep. And they have to have everything with all the social distancing and everything. So a lot of venues some are only allowed to sell 50 tickets, or sometimes they'll just make it a free show and just have it, a limited capacity. So everything's having to be very stripped down for the most part. That's what we'll be doing at Bucks. I'm pretty sure when we come, it'll be me and Chucky on that run. I think the night before we're playing in Pierre, South Dakota, at a place, and then coming to Bucks on the Saturday night from there. But yeah, so that's what we've been doing. The entire month of July, we had 28 shows booked, in Texas, Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, and California. And then all of those states shut back down. So we had to, regroup, and we've been picking up shows, where in states where we're allowed to play. But like I say, it's everything so far that we've been able to do are all very small. It's a weird kind of an oxymoron to say it's a small, intimate show, but you're social distancing because you're not supposed to be intimate, which you're really not. They just can't put that many people in, in the room. There's one venue that we played that is normally 1,000-seat room, and they had 100 people in there, and it was all spaced out. It looked like there was nobody there. It was a giant empty room.
Does that make it feel different then? Or, I mean, does it feel weird just playing in front of such like a small crowd and such like a big venue?
No, because we've always played for everybody, big and small, we play them all, and we played for many a small crowd in our day. So we treat it all the same, and we're just glad to be able to play music, but for everybody.
Well, your last single was Lockdown and Loaded. Was it kind of hard to sit down and write a song about everything that was going on? It's a unique situation.
It was, I write songs, everybody does it, in a different way. And what works for me is if I try to sit down and try to write a song, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be horrible, and but what I usually do is I get out on the ride on my Road King, or if I'm on the tractor and mowing, that's the only times, I ain't got, people in my head and talking, and the melodies and lyrics come to me then. And then when I get back to the house, then I'll get a guitar and flesh out the music. Well, when we got shut down, we was in the middle of our 10th year playing over 300 shows a year. And I hadn't written a song in almost 2 years. The last thing I'd written was Everything But You, which was on the Trying to Be a Blessing album, which came out in October of last year. And all of a sudden, I found myself with a lot more time to ride my bike and a lot more grass I needed to cut. And so in the midst of the weeks we were locked down, I wasn't expecting to write, to even think about a new album this quick. And I wrote the whole album. I got 11 songs, and I wrote all of them, and 3 of them I co-wrote with my friend Ted Russell Camp, who is the bass player for Shooter Jennings. And Ted's a great producer and songwriter and singer and performer in his own right. He was in quarantine at his place in Los Angeles, and he messaged me. I was locked down here at the Texas Ohio Ranch, and he said, "Hey, we can't go anywhere or do anything. What would you think about trying to co-write some songs via the magic of FaceTime, And I thought, well, hell, I ain't never done anything like that, so let's see how it goes. And in about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, something like that, we knocked out 3 songs, and I'm going to be cutting all 3 of them on this new album. We're going into Omni Sound Studios in Nashville on August 18th, 19th, and 20th. To record this one, and I'm bringing back Dean Miller to produce. He's produced my last 2 records, and we've just got a great working relationship and a friendship, and I'm super stoked about this one because I think this is the strongest record that I've ever had, in all these years. And the whole thing just kind of came about off being, like it's not like it's a coronavirus concept album by any means, but the songs definitely were influenced by, the situation, obviously Lockdown and Loaded very much is, it probably more so than anything else on the album, but there's other allusions within the different tracks, of kind of the circumstances of what's going on, and everybody's dealing with it in their own way, and that comes out in these songs with the way I'm handling everything,
Well, when can we expect that new album you're talking about? Do you have a date in mind? Or,
we would we have to record it first, so we're going to be recording it in August, and that would most likely have it be an early 2021 release, because we usually try to be at least 6 months out, you know, from release, so we can promote it properly and get it out there. And we used to, back in the days, as soon as the truck dropped off your load of CDs, that was the day it got released, and we'd start selling them out of the trunk of our car. But we're doing it a little different now, and it's working out better. So we're it usually takes about 6 months of setup and promotion before we actually have the release. So without giving an actual date, because I don't know yet, I would say early 2021.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so you mentioned like 10 years of doing like 300 plus shows. My kind of question was, is it like, does it ever become like too much to handle? Like, do you ever get into like a routine, or is just every day just totally different than the last one?
No, yeah, every day's totally different. It's never there. We don't have a routine. It's you know, it's not for everybody, but it's what I love to do. I'll be 50 years old next Friday, and I've been doing this since I was 16. That's all I've ever done, and it's we've been very, very blessed to do what we love for a living for all these years, and just now really enjoying a lot of things with it. I have my wife, and my daughter just turned 3 years old, and as she's getting older, they're able to come with me on more trips, and I've got you know, just a great support team of my friends and bandmates, and everybody working with me. Brian DeBruler at Soul Records is my best friend, a business partner, and we just kind of keep our circle tight, and we keep rolling and keep the roads hot. Yeah, that's what we love to do, you know.
So are you guys usually hitting the road then like immediately after the show, or do you tend to kind of stay a night or something like that?
It all depends on where the next show is. As hard as we run, a lot of times we leave as soon as, because we may have a 10, 12-hour drive to the next show. Sometimes if we get lucky, everything's routed nice, and we'll be able to, you know, play the show, stay in a hotel, and then get up and only have a few hours drive to the next town. You know, that's a little easier, but we pull a lot of all-nighters. You know, it just depends on where we're going, you know.
Well, I was looking at your music, and I saw you had a live prison album, kind of like Johnny Cash. And what was that like? What was the show like, and how did you set something like that up?
Well, that was the live at the Bullitt County Jail album. Bullitt County is just south of Louisville, Kentucky. And we had a mutual friend who, her son was she was working volunteering at the jail, and her son had been in and out and had some drug problems, and so she was volunteering with the rehab program, and they were coming up with different, you know, ideas on things to kind of boost morale and try to help people out that were in rehabilitation. And she proposed the idea to us, and we said, well, originally she just was seeing if we would come and play. And I said, well, we'd come and play if you'll allow us to record it. You know, we would only do original songs that I'd written, and we wouldn't be doing any covers or anything like that. But we would, if you'd let us record it and document this, we'd like to do it. And so then once we were on board, then she had to go back and forth with the jail. And the show was on, then it was off, then it was on, then it was off several times. Yeah. Because they had never done anything like that. And there was a lot of protocols, you know, to it. And finally, we found out 2 days before it was going to happen, because the jailer had given a press release. And we found out in the paper, like it hit the paper, and then that got linked to us. We got tagged in a Facebook post where the article had come out. That was more to record album at Bullitt County Jail. I was like, I guess we're on. And it was 2 days later, you know. So we went down there, and it was just myself and Chuck, and we were locked in this little bitty room with 100 inmates and the jailer, Martha Knox, and the captain and 2 guards. And everybody was, some of them were still in shackles and everything, and everybody was in such close quarters. Like the front row of inmates, their boots were lined up right with my boot, and I was right there singing in the mic stand, you know. And so it was close quarters, but we played the set. And what I wish we would have been able to include on the album was, after we were done, they were allowed like 10 minutes of, like, you know, question and answer, and they got to talk to us. And so many of the inmates were saying that they related to my song so much that they're like, that one song is, you know, that sounds like you wrote my life, and, you know, that's something that I struggled with on this, or that's why I'm in here, you know, kind of thing. And the jailer and the captain, they told us that it really boosted morale, and it was good for everybody. And then we made a thing that day. We told everybody, said, any of y'all that are here, you made this record with us, and well, you're not going to be in here forever, and when you get out, let us know, because this is your record too. And we've had several of the guys that were in there that have got the record and been like, man, and then they've come to shows to see us, you know, since then. And it was a hardcore and humbling, you know, experience all the way around. It was just, but it was a one-time shot, and we'll never get to do something like that again. And we didn't do any post-production or try to clean anything up. We wanted to capture, when you put that CD in, you know, or you listen to the download or whatever. We haven't released that one on vinyl. I'm hoping.
Are you gonna?
I'm hoping we will, because
I would love to get that on vinyl.
We started doing vinyls, the record after that, with Mr. Honky Tonk. So I would hopefully, maybe we'll reissue Bullitt County Jail on vinyl. But we wanted to capture the feeling of what it was like in that room. So everything is just very stark, and, you know, there's no effect. It's just me and Chuck and our 2 guitars and playing. You know, it's very raw sounding, and we captured that. If you listen to the track, when you first hearing, you know, the applause is very light, because they were not allowed to applaud or show any kind of emotion or anything until the jailer, like, if she reacted, then they were allowed to. And so at first it's like, you know, like that, you know, and we're just playing, going through our stuff. And as we got into a few things, all of a sudden the jailer was into it, and all of a sudden they're all clapping and going, because they had to, and then from then on out, you can hear the applause get louder through it. And that's what was going on with it. It was because they were afraid to, you know, do anything, they get punished, you know, and nobody wanted that. We was trying to do something good and not everybody get no more heat, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it was a once in a lifetime thing, man, and I'm real glad we got to do it.
Yeah, that's a very cool thing. You want the next one?
So kind of going back to the doing your shows like every single night, are you ever like having drinks on stage? Is there like something that's like your kind of go-to thing? Like there's something that you like, whiskey or something that you like to have during a show or anything like that?
Oh, I like Lone Star beer and fine Kentucky bourbon.
Well, so you like when you're hanging out with your buddies and stuff, that's your main go-to. You don't drink anything else besides that?
Well, we'll drink anything too thin to eat. but that's my preference.
Okay, I respect that. Well, when you were growing up, Dallas, did you play any sports, or were you always just kind of into music?
No, that's all I did was play sports until I didn't even get my first guitar till I was 16 years old. And other than when I was a little kid, when I was 7 years old, I sang 2 Elvis Presley songs at my sister's wedding in 1977. But that was my only musical thing, when I was little. I used to sing Elvis and Waylon Jennings songs when I was a little kid. But I played sports, and I played baseball and football, and I boxed. And I played basketball, but I wasn't very good at it. I was
neither was I.
Neither of us were, so it's all right.
Yeah.
No judgment there.
I always made the team, but I rode the bench a lot on basketball. But I was pretty good at baseball, football, and boxing. And I loved them. And then my mom got me my first. My mom, Angelique, she got me my first guitar when I was 16 years old, and ruined my life. And here I am now.
So what was your favorite sport that you played out of all of them?
I like baseball. I love baseball, football, and boxing. I liked them all. The best. And our baseball team, we played Babe Ruth League and Knot Hole. And in football, I played for our junior high and high school. But then when I turned 16, when I got the guitar, I quit. I just quit. I dropped all the sports, all at once. And the town I grew up in, Norwood, Ohio, it was an old factory town, and my dad, he retired. He'd worked almost 30 years in the Siemens factory there, and all the kids I grew up with, most of their parents worked in one of the factories. GM was there back in the day, and US Playing Card. There was all the factories, and playing sports was pretty much everybody figured your only ticket, to get out of town, or you'd be in one of those factories. Well, most of the factories all ended up closing down. There's only a few of them left, so when I got the guitar and I quit playing sports, my dad was pissed. He was like, "You're going to be busting your ass, the rest of your life the same way as I am, playing sports." I was pretty good and looked like we, might have, at least a college future, my dad, I just quit everything. Like once I got the guitar, that was it. That's all I've ever done since then, and that was all she wrote. And my dad was pissed for a while, and then the music thing started taking off, and he ended up being, along with my mom, Angelique, my biggest fan.
So you probably get this a lot. Was there like a specific point in your career where you kind of like realized this is something that like you could continually do, and your point where like I might actually like make it doing this? Like, did you ever have that moment?
Yeah, as soon as I played my first gig. It wasn't a matter of quote unquote making it or anything. It just, I decided early on that this would be my path, and that's what I was put here to do. And I just said, I've never looked back, and we've been through the worst of the worst times, and now we're enjoying the best times of my life and our career and everything right now in the middle of a pandemic. Who knew? Crazy, but it's just the last several years have just been great, but at the same time, I wouldn't trade in any of the lumps we've taken over the years, and a lot of times we took the wrong road and the hard road, and went around the block to get to the house next door and did everything the wrong way and ass backwards. But that's how we learned, to do everything, and that's how and I'm always still learning. I will be my whole life, you're always learning and trying to kick the can a little farther down the road, and do better than you did the day before. And that's what we're trying to do.
Definitely. Well, when you're not writing music or playing shows, is there any hobbies you have that you like to do?
Yeah, not mowing the lawn.
My main thing is I ride my old Harley Davidson Road King.
Okay.
I don't, because of our tour schedule, I haven't got to do as many cross country rides as I used to do. For 10 years, we would play in Sturgis, South Dakota,
Yeah.
every year. And I think the last 4 or 5 years that we did that, I'd ride the bike and the band would be on the bus. And but I would ride the bike. In fact, that was me and my wife's honeymoon. We had just got married, and she hopped on the back of the bike, and we were all rode all the way to Sturgis, and then
awesome.
played all week, and then we rode back. It was 3 weeks on the back of a motorcycle for our honeymoon. That's how we got to know one another, and we just had our 10-year wedding anniversary, and she ain't killed me yet. She's had ample opportunity.
Well, congrats.
So I guess it worked out pretty good. But yeah, you know, I'm an old scooter trash biker, you know, so I love to ride, and I like to hunt and fish, you know, and really my main thing, you know, now is I love to spend time and do stuff with my daughter, Victory Lee Moore. She just turned 3 years old on June 14th, and we've got her in her second season of tap and ballet dancing. Her favorite is Shirley Temple. My wife started showing her early on all the old Shirley Temple movies, so she wanted to tap dance and do ballet, and then we just got her started on golf and tennis and baseball and swimming. So we keep her real busy, and she keeps us real busy.
That's good. Well, with all the shows that you played, and you probably played thousands of shows, what do you think is the craziest moment that's happened during one of your shows?
Oh, I don't know. We've had some crazy stuff. I don't know if this was the craziest, but the biggest crowd we ever played for was on my 31st birthday. We did a show with Leonard Skinner, and it was a free show in Louisville, Kentucky on the Great Lawn, and 111,000 people showed up.
Oh my God.
And we walked out, you know, in front of Skinner, and it was just mayhem, you know. it was and it was my birthday, so I'll never forget it. It was really cool. And we played to some pretty big crowds on festivals and stuff before. I think besides that, about 80,000 would be the biggest. But still to this day, that they said a free show with Leonard Skinner in Louisville, Kentucky. And everybody showed up, you know. It looked like an ocean of people, you know. And it was really neat. But I've over the years, I've been real blessed that I've got to share the stage, sometimes for just one show, many times full tours and stuff with a whole lot of my heroes and champions. And it's pretty cool when your heroes become your friends, and I've been real blessed in that along the way, you know. And we got to tour with, you know, Willie Nelson. I did shows with Waylon Jennings, several with Merle Haggard, George Jones, David Allen Coe, Leonard Skinner, the Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker, man, like all of our heroes, you know. It's over the years, it's been great, and then we still now get to do shows with a lot of friends. And we had stuff that we were supposed to be playing some shows with Ray Wiley Hubbard and Kinky Friedman and Billy Joe Shaver and stuff. And then everything's kind of on hold right now for all that stuff because they're not really able to have very many, you know, bigger shows like that. So we're just kind of plugging along and getting in what we can. But it's been really cool to, you know, be able to learn from your heroes, like up close and personal, you know. Like the best advice I ever got in my life was from Willie Nelson. He told me, do it for the love, but never be above the money. So, and I've always, you know, stuck with that. So, and Jody Payne was Willie Nelson's guitar player for 37 years, and he adopted me and became my godfather while we were out on tour together. We found out he graduated the same high school that me and my mother did, and he actually was a year ahead of my mom, and he went straight into the Army when he got out, and he never got his high school yearbook. And when I came home from that run we were doing with Willie Nelson, I told my mom that. She ran up to the attic and she got dug into this old box, and she found what would have been her junior yearbook, and it would have been Jody's senior yearbook. And she said, "Are you going to see him again?" I said, "Yeah, we have another show next week." And I said, okay. It was in Terre Haute, Indiana, and it was with Willie Nelson, Leon Russell, and the Amazing Rhythm Aces. And I took that year. She said, well, take it to Jody. I'm never going to need it. And sure enough, his senior picture was right in there, and he never got to get it. And so my mom, I took it to him, and he said, man, that's the coolest thing in the world. I would have never been able to have that. And he said, Dallas, you're one of them cats that I could call my brother or my son. So I'm going to be your godfather. And so from then on, Jody Payne was my godfather.
Well, you said you played shows with all those legends. Well, I was really curious, what was Waylon Jennings like? Oh man, meeting Waylon and Willie was the complete opposite. When you met Waylon, it was this whole thing. Like you didn't know if you were going to get to meet him or not. He was with Jesse on his bus, which was called the Black Maria at the time, and it was parked right outside the stage doors. And I was opening solo acoustic, opening some shows for him in Kentucky, and I was just fingers crossed. I was just so tickled that I was getting to play the shows, but I just wanted to meet him so bad, Yeah. And it was on and off between his management and at the time I had a manager back then. But they're all going back and forth from trying to set it up, and well, no, he's not seeing anybody today, and he's not going to. So we didn't think it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, I had played my show, and his bus was right outside the door, and so he had heard my show. And then I got the word when I came on stage, hey, Waylon heard your show and he wants to meet you. So they're like, we're going to take you back. And so I go out through this little alley there, and these four big dudes in trench coats that looked like they had sawed-off shotguns down in their trench coats. They come out, and Waylon comes down. Waylon and Jesse come down the steps, and it was like me fucking Darth Vader or something. It was larger than life, or Elvis or something. I don't know how to describe it. And he was just so kind to me, and I was standing there, had a black leather duster on, and drenched in sweat and everything, playing, and just wanted to shake his hand, and tell him what a hero he was of mine. And he was just so kind, and said he enjoyed my show and invited me. He said, "You stick around, Hoss, we're getting ready to turn it up." Wow, that's.
I thought it was pretty cool. And
yeah.
Waylon always played through these two Fender amps that, and I got pictures of me opening those shows where I'm standing in the middle of the two amps. And years later, I ended up buying one of those amps. Waylon had sold it to Dale Watson in an estate sale, and Dale had put out an ad in the old Lonesome Standard Time. It was a country music magazine, and they had like classified ads in the back of it, and Dale Watson was selling Waylon's amp in the classifieds of this magazine. And so I replied to it, and ended up buying Waylon's amp from Dale. It's kind of a crazy story, and I've still got it. I'll never get rid of it.
That's awesome.
Because there was only two of the main ones, and he had two others that he used as a backup. But they're about as big as a refrigerator. And if you see any of the old pictures of Waylon, he'd always have them. He'd be standing in the middle, and the amps were facing like that in, and the one on the left, that's the one that I got.
Awesome.
And it's magic if you plug into it. You plug a Telecaster into it, and I swear to God, it just takes on. It comes to life, man. It's pretty cool.
I really wanted to know your opinion on what do you think of today's country music? I know it's very commercialized, especially on the radio coming out of Nashville, but are you familiar with some of the, you mentioned some of the modern day outlaws like you, Whitey Morgan, Cody Jinks, all those guys. Are you pretty happy with them? They're getting a pretty big following. Are you pretty happy with where country music's at today?
Yeah, everybody's doing their own thing, and being an independent artist, like as we always have, it's a lot different now than it was, when I was coming up doing it. But used to be, back then, you either had a major label Nashville deal or you didn't. You were dead in the water, and we never did. So we were dead in the water, but we were just always doing it ourselves, and we've been doing it ourselves so long that it finally caught up to where now you can do this by yourself. You don't have to have a major label, and for good or bad, at the end of the day, I own all my own music. I own all my own publishing. I've never given anything away. And if I'm losing money, that's on me. If I'm making money, it's on me. And I'm in total control of what I'm putting out. I don't have to record anything I don't want to, and it's an outlet for me to do, whatever I want. And so that's how the whole quote unquote outlaw country music thing was born, was out of artistic freedom. And at the end of the day, that's what it really still boils down to. And, I don't worry about what anybody say, anything good or bad or indifferent about what anybody else is doing or whatever. Everybody's doing their thing, and what they think is what their choices are, and what's right for them. And I do what's right for me, and all gets along pretty good. But it's great to see, like I say, so many independent artists start to get, major traction, and doing it on their own terms. I mean, it's like everybody's almost reinvented the wheel. It's really come back and put the control back in the hands of the artist. And I think it's a great thing.
That's what mainly sparked us to make this podcast, is we wanted to promote those independent guys, that it is harder for them to get promoted and things like that. Harder. Yeah. And so I think those guys make the best music. So we really wanted to help promote those guys. Well,
hey, we appreciate y'all, because it's guys like you doing what you do that gives light to guys like me and everybody else, and it's all, everybody's working and, cross promoting one another, and it's nothing but a good thing. I always say a rising tide raises all ships. So y'all having me on here is helping me out, and we greatly appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we enjoy it, man. It's a good time.
So we were kind of introduced to you by JR, Justin Moore's manager.
Yeah.
So can you kind of tell us, how'd you get to know him? And
well, I'll tell you how we met. We were playing at the Floribama in Perdido Key, Florida, a legendary last great American Roadhouse, as they call it. And I'm actually going to be there next weekend, August 7, 8, 9, for my 50th birthday bash at the beach. So this is fast forward now, well over 20 years that we've been playing the Floribama. So we were playing all those years ago, and it was actually our first time playing the Floribama. We had come in, we had played Myrtle Beach Bike Week, and the band had rode down in a van, and I rode my Road King in a torrential rainstorm from Myrtle Beach down to Perdido Key, Florida. My Road King turned into a jet ski. I was so soaking wet like a drowned rat. So, I mean, it was raining sideways on me the whole time, And so we got there and we wore out, and they have it's called the Old River House, and it's across the street from the Floribama, and it's the old house that used to belong to Hank Cochran, who's a legendary Hall of Fame songwriter, wrote so many great songs. And it's his old house, and so that's where they put the bands up that were playing. So we were sharing the band house with my great friend, the late great Wayne Mills, and Wayne was playing there. And at the time, JR was road managing Wayne, but we're in there, and we're in there for a couple of days, and everybody, the two bands are in there, and we're partying and raising hell and having a good time and playing music and carrying on. And the next day, that went on Sunday and Monday, And Tuesday we were getting ready to leave, and we had hit it off so well that Wayne had invited us to come play in Tuscaloosa at his gig. And so we were like, okay, well, let's go. So we're packing everything up, and Wayne's getting all his guys together, and he's like, all right, come on, we're leaving. And there's this little bar that's in the center room of the way the house is configured. And we had no idea anybody was there. Well, up pops old JR. He'd been on a sleeping bag with a cooler behind that bar for the whole 2 days. Nobody had seen him. He was down there. He gets up, his hair's all crazy. And he pops up and's like, raise hell and sling gravel. And I said, I'm going to write that someday. And we just joked about it. And then a couple years went by, and I ended up writing the song Raising Hell and Slinging Gravel. But that originally came from him popping up. And then he went on, and he went on to the gig with us, and we just been great brothers and friends. I'm hoping I get to see him next weekend. The last time we were at the Floribama back in January, he was down there, and he said he was moving over there somewhere around Gulf Shores or something like that, somewhere in the area. So I'm hoping I run into him this weekend, man. He's a great brother and friend.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
And we got a lot of history together, but that's how we met. That's no bullshit.
That's awesome.
He popped up. We had no idea he was there. And he just pops up from behind the bar. Raise hell and sling gravel.
Yeah, well, our podcast we did with him, he said that to us when we were like signing off, when we were ending. He said, raise hell, sling gravel, boys.
That's it. That's it.
Well, your music is definitely very, very outlaw. Besides your music, what would you say the most outlaw thing is about you?
Oh, I probably just, I don't even know that you're going to call it outlaw or not. Just we do everything on our own. I just live my life on my own terms, you know. Yeah. That's it. And just try to, I don't know how outlaw it is, but it's kind of like Willie says, and like with the golden rule, you know, treat people like you want to be treated. And I try to be good to everybody, you know. So yeah. I don't know how outlaw that is, but I ain't really worried about it.
That seems pretty outlaw nowadays.
You know, the whole outlaw thing, you know, really, it's more people. You know, everybody's got to have something to, you know, categorize it or whatever, you know. And so it generally just gets, you know, described that way, I reckon, you know. But it never bothered me, you know, either way, you know, I just kind of go with it. But I'm not out robbing banks anymore. You know? So.
In 1991, your first album was My Heroes Have Always Been Cowboys. Are there any cowboys besides like country singers that are big heroes of you, like bull riders or anything like that? Are you?
I used to like the Lone Ranger when I was a little kid, and I remember I had this wooden action figure that was the Lone Ranger and Tonto when I was a little boy. And I used to watch a lot of old Western, a lot of Clint Eastwood movies, John Wayne, a lot of stuff like that. And my dad was a big Gene Autry fan. He's like a lot of old Gene Autry movies, stuff like that. Okay. But that song, My Heroes Always Been Cowboys, I had covered the song. From Willie Nelson on that album. That's where that title came from.
Okay. So we kind of talked about more like independent artists nowadays, and how like more people are able to kind of do the thing their own way and on their own terms. Is there any, I guess, advice that you have for some of those that are kind of like struggling or not trying to kind of like give in to being
commercialized?
Yeah, commercialized. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just say, just stick to whatever you are comfortable with and whatever you believe in, and do what's right for you. And don't work. You don't have to try to be outlaw or pop or anything. Just do what you like, you know, and take your influences and meld them all together. And then that's what will form you, you know. I have many different, influences. I went to Northern Kentucky University on a jazz and classical guitar scholarship. I love to play classical music and jazz, and when I also love Western swing. And back then, when I was going to school, in the day I was playing jazz guitar in the big band, and at night I was playing in the honky tonks, and I realized all the parallels between it. What Benny Goodman and guys like that were doing was very similar to what Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys were doing. It was just different instruments. Bob Wills had a fiddle and Benny Goodman had a clarinet, and they both had great guitar players, and so that really influenced me. And then I put together the connections that Willie Nelson was always one of my favorite guitar players. His guitar style was so unique. And then I realized that his guitar hero was the great gypsy jazz guitar player, Django Reinhardt. And so I started, I went down a rabbit hole of connecting the dots and how all the different music, country and blues, and I'm a huge Southern rock fan, and, and delving back into all of their influences. And it all really kind of makes sense and influences each other. My mom, Major Lee, she played bluegrass, Appalachian, and gospel music, and she played dulcimer and banjo and auto harp and guitar. And she was on the Midwestern Hayride back in the 1950s, and I still got her old 78 records. Her group was called the Buckeye Bells, and they had a couple hits back in the early 50s, and they recorded at Herzog Studios, where in Cincinnati, where Hank Williams had recorded, and Foggy Mountain Breakdown was recorded there. Yeah, we recorded a live album. We were the first to go back on the 61st anniversary of when Hank Sr. had recorded 6 of his songs in Herzog Studio. And on that very day, we gathered, and Jody Payne came up and played on that album with us. He came up from his home in Alabama. He had retired from Willie because he was starting to be in poor health. And he came up, and the last album he played on before he passed was that live album we made at Herzog Studio.
Oh, wow.
And my mama, Major Lee, and Jody and I stood in the exact spot 61 years to the day, and we did I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry in the very spot that Hank had recorded it in, and it's on that album. And so it was pretty cool,
Well, I think our last question for you is probably, which artist do you think is going to be carrying country music for, like, in the next 20 years? Because you've been playing for a long time. Do you see any up and coming guys that you're like, wow, I think country music's in good hands?
I think there's probably too many to say any one. I'd say country music's doing just fine. There's just a ton of great singers and songwriters and performers out there, and I wouldn't want to favor anyone over another or anything like that. But I will say that going back on the whole independent thing, there's so many people that are able to get their voices heard now and get their songs heard now that if they were signed to a major label deal, they wouldn't be, very few of them would be getting a lot of their own songs, cut and instead of told, you're going to sing this and you're going to dress like this, you're going to do, this is going to be your persona, the way it is now, you can just be yourself, and I think that's the best thing for it. And that's what will let the music be in good hands, as you say, because you're going to have everybody coming out with their own stuff, and that's what's going to kick the can farther down the road. And especially when you have people growing up, the younger generation, their influences are different than like mine were, and it's just going to keep moving everything forward.
Well, yeah,
so I think it is in good hands.
Yes, I agree with you. I think with all these streaming services and allowing people to do stuff on their own, like you were saying, I think people are starting to stop listening to that mainstream radio and maybe turning on their Bluetooth in their car and stuff and going down rabbit holes and finding these artists that aren't as talked about. So I definitely
Right. Yeah. There's so much out there, you know, now. And like you say, you do go down the rabbit hole with it. And one artist leads you to another. It's, you know, and it's a great thing. And like I say, going back to what we were originally talking about the touring, for us, I can only speak for us. We're doing what we can while we can right now, but eventually, you know, hopefully things will get back to, you know, to where we are able to, you know, tour and everything. And that's the best thing. And it's so many different type of venues have, you know, live music now and are open to this genre of music, and it's given people a lot of more places to play than ever used to be. For years, like all through the 90s and stuff, like we really didn't tour much. We kind of played regionally in like Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, and Tennessee, and we'd have an occasional trip, you know. And back then, it was nothing at all like what it's turned into now, where you can be an independent artist and literally tour the whole country. I mean, for like the last 10 years or so, we've done over 300 shows a year from New York to LA and Texas to Tennessee and all points in between. And we've done it all on our own, you know. You can do it on your own now. Yeah. That's the greatest thing about being independent, I think.
I think it's like Ben mentioned, like all the streaming services, anyone who has like a computer that they can record something on, that like they can get their stuff out there and do it on their own terms. Like us creating a podcast with just a computer. Like same
there you go.
Artists, like get a guitar or something, get a computer, and
you're up and running. You know, and you have an outlet for what you're doing, and it's a great thing, man. You know, and we appreciate you doing it. I appreciate y'all having me on here.
Oh yeah,
thanks for coming on, man. It really helps us grow, and I'm glad I'm able to promote your music. So
yeah, it's been fun talking to you. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, let's do it again real soon. We'll come and see you at Bucks.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, we'll get amongst it. Race hell and sling gravel.
Yes, sir. Take care, man.
All right, adios, amigos.
Yeah.
See ya.
In an outlaw state of mind.